Shall we begin?
Welcome to the Happy MonsterCast. I'm your host, Scott Marchand Davis of Happy Monster Press.
Let's begin now.
This week on the Happy MonsterCast, the investigators arrange a marriage and come to Arthur Compton's aid. This podcast contains adult language and adult situations. Previously on the Happy MonsterCast, hard-boiled detectives Philip Marlowe and Victor Shaw run a two-bit detective agency on Chicago's west side, trying to stay one step ahead of the Moran and Capone gangs. With help from urban adventurer and vigilante Jack Mallard, drifter Eli Harrington, mysterious cruiser Marcus Belfast, and patent scientist Dr. Humboldt Harrison, the heroes are captives of the mysterious Guilfoyles and their Tommyknocker allies. Will Humboldt be able to talk them out of trouble? All right, so let me recap. You were in the sewers of Chicago. You had a charitable mission in between your investigation of what appears to be a brewing war between the North Side and South Side gangs over demon rum, a concoction of ghost rock and alcohol that produces enormous hide monsters out of normal men. So you were called to Hull House. And in a gesture of goodwill, you offered to help Miss Jane Addams with a strange creature that had been dropped on her porch as a baby. This creature appeared to be somewhat other than human, and in tracking down rumors of such things, you found yourself in the sewer, tangling with a group of Irish mobsters known as the Guilfoyles, and you've now fallen prey to their forces and discover that they seem to have some inhuman allies. Small goblinoid creatures similar to the one that you saw at Hull House. And they were impressed by Dr. Humboldt's powers, and they've decided to take you to their king.
Wow. All right.
So you travel through the sewers for some time here, and eventually you find your way to a large open chamber in the sewers. As you go along, more of these strange creatures, which you hear the Guilfoyles refer to as Tommyknockers, join you. So they lure you out to they take you out to this room. And it seems like a small sort of operations center in the sewers, if you will. It's above the level of water. There's a number of tables around. People are drinking beer. And in a throne-like wooden chair at one end is a late middle-aged Irish gentleman. They call you in front of them and order you to kneel.
Well, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, my character isn't gonna play along with that either.
I mean, I'm happy to stand respectfully, but no, I'm not gonna kneel. This is America, buddy.
You don't need to have our guests dirty their knees of their fine suits on the floor. Why did you bring them before me? And they explain about Humboldt's powers. Ah, exciting. Well, a man of these talents, I might have a job for him.
Well, I'm not one to say no to an opportunity. Can I take it that I'm in the august company of Mr. Guilfoyle?
Martin Guilfoyle, yes. And Martin Guilfoyle, yes, I have a job for you.
Well, you intrigue me, sir.
Nancy here is in need of a husband. And he gestures to one of the Tommyknockers, who, while bearded, appears to be female.
And you'd like me to find her one. Well, I'm not much of a matchmaker, but I suppose I do what I can.
Well, I was thinking that you might be an excellent match for her, sir. With your
I lean over and go,
abilities.
looks just like your type.
Jeez.
And I look back, completely not understanding the reference. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I mean, I'm a fine figure of a man over here. Okay, so flattered as I am by the opportunity, Mr. Guilfoyle, may I call you Martin?
You may not.
Or would that be...
That would be presuming here in my own house.
I understand, sir, and I respect your rejection of the presumption. I do beg your pardon, sir.
Except poor Nancy was betrothed to a prince of our one of the daughter of the king of the Tommyknockers.
I lean over again and I go, "You're batting 1,000. Keep it up."
But alas, the poor boy was lost as an infant, and she's grown up with no hope of ever marrying the prince. But a man like you, what a fine match for her. Add a little more human blood to them. That's what's made us the masters of the underground. Every last Guilfoyle has some Tommyknocker blood in him. Gives him that's why we could see in the dark when you were dependent on those pathetic flashlights.
Well, Mr. Guilfoyle, cognizant as I am of the honor of the offer that you present before me, I fear I must decline. However, not being one to, leave a man wanting, or to leave such a fine specimen of womanhood as, this young lady wanting, I do actually have someone in mind who would make for a fine husband. Trained up in the human world.
Such disdain right now.
Trained up in the human world, so you get the best of both worlds. You get all the strength and virility and vitality of Tommyknocker blood, with experience and education coming from one of the finest homes in Chicago.
Now you intrigue me, sir. Am I to cast an inference upon your speech that you mean that Nancy should marry another Tommyknocker?
A wise and perceptive man you are.
Well, that seems a bit challenging to arrange, considering they live down here with us, and there's not a one of them who's willing to step in the place of the prince and marry our Nancy.
But if I may trespass on your patience a moment longer, I happen to know of the only Tommyknocker, the singular Tommyknocker, the only Tommyknocker in the world to have lived up above in Chicago. He is currently residing right now in Hull House, and he is a strong, robust individual, desperately, I should say, eagerly seeking companionship, and I'm sure would be a fine match for your princess. His name is Norman.
Norman, eh? Give me a persuasion roll.
All right.
I have a look of sigh of relief on my face. Oh, God.
All right, give me a second. I gotta open up my sheet here. Persuasion. Damn it, persuasion's not my strong suit here, but all right, I'll
Would anyone like to support him?
Somebody help me out here.
Well, you're not there, Frank, unfortunately.
So, like, you guys have met Norman, haven't you? And you can back me up. You could do what a great guy he is. Strong, talented, clever with his hands, erudite, eloquent, a real charmer. Anybody else want to jump into the persuasion rolls? Feel free.
Hold on, coming. Yeah. Let's see. Character sheet. Come on.
That will do, actually. He says,
all right.
Okay.
You spin a fine tale, sir. And I have a mind to meet this Tommyknocker. But I've learned to be skeptical of you outsiders, and so I'd offer you a proposition.
You intrigue me strangely, sir.
I'll lead 2 of your number to the surface, and you, sir, and one of your friends can stay here and spin more yarns for me while you go retrieve this Norman. Well, the other 2 go retrieve this Norman.
Okay. Sure. I as any matchmaker will tell you, the most important part of starting any relationship is bringing the 2 lovebirds together. After that, fate takes them where they will.
All right. So who's going for Norman and who is staying behind?
So I'm to stay behind, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Should we
I
have
feel like I should stay because I can weave some nonsense.
Okay. So you 2 stay, and Phil and the 2 detectives go out to Hull House.
Sure.
I would like one or the other of you to make performance rolls.
Excellent.
The ones who are staying here.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, now I'm glad I didn't stay.
So I start talking, I start rambling about all sorts of ridiculous things and just, get kind of, a little tipsy whipsy. It's a good time.
Man.
Oh, sorry, performance. Sorry, wrong roll. Performance. That's an unskilled. Shit.
Can I do athletics instead? Can I juggle or do something else like that?
I'll allow juggling.
Oh,
okay.
Can I do a strange hat with a cane and a strange dance with a cane and a hat?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. I'll go for that too.
All right. So you're doing a little dance. Meanwhile, back at Hull House, Philip, you're going to need to talk Miss Adams into letting Norman go. So how are you going to persuade her to let you take him with you?
Okay, hold on. Miss Hull, we're here to take a small burden off your hands. We found his people. We would like to bring him to his people. Will you allow us to take him?
My word, this is quite extraordinary. Are these good Christian folk?
Absolutely. They told me themselves that they do nothing on Sundays but worship the Lord. He's a good Christian folk.
You'll have to tell me this full story at some time, Mr. Marlowe, but in the meantime, yes, by all means, take Norman with you.
You lie
Thank
like
you.
a rug. Oh my goodness.
All right, so you take Norman with you. He seems he's very reluctant to go outside, but it is night, so he's a little more comfortable. And you come back to the entrance to the sewer where one of the Guilfoyles leads you back in. And as you arrive, there's a tremendous roar from the Tommyknockers. The Lost Prince! The Lost Prince!
Oh, yes!
Well, it seems you've been true to your word, sir, and more. I had no idea this Norman you spoke of was, in fact, the Lost Prince Nonagensis.
Well, we wanted it to be a big surprise, so.
Well, and of course, we didn't want you to accept this guy just because he was a prince. We wanted you to accept him on his own merits because we knew him as a fine young man. So he's not just royalty; he's a good guy.
Well, that's
who's
fine.
lying like a rug now.
Yeah, why don't you stay and have a drink or two? So I would like, as a group, you can ask this guy 2 questions about things that are going on in Chicago, and I will give you answers. They may not be complete, but they will be accurate.
Oh my God!
All
right, so we get 2 questions. Well, first we should probably ask about this about the potion, the red rum potion. I mean, who's what's the eventual plan there, and who is
why make it?
Moran knows better than to mess with us, but he's taken over most of the rest of the north side. I imagine he and Capone are looking for any weapon they can in their event to support their eventual clash, and I've heard the feds are getting involved as well. They're sending out some sort of special agent from DC to try to break up the gangs. I have heard a name in whispers about this. Not a lot beyond that, but might be of use to you at some point. The name's Danner.
Danner.
Right. Shadrach Danner.
Shadrach. So he's fireproof.
Well, that'd make sense for a man who was involved in high spirits, wouldn't it?
All right. Okay. So our other question. Maybe we could. So we're kind of talking amongst ourselves. If there were a way to counteract the red rum, like an antidote, then that would kind of neutralize it. Should we ask if they know anything about that? Or is there some more strategic question you want to ask?
Nothing comes to mind at the moment.
Okay. All right. So I guess we put that question to him. Does he know of any way or any tool that could be used against the red rum infused thugs? I mean, they're really, and they're pretty powerful once they got it. Is there an antiserum or an antidote or some kind of a weapon to counteract that, to fight it?
My folk don't have much truck with the ghost rock science that you wield there, my friend. We've not heard of any way to neutralize it other than simply that it wears off in time.
Okay, so I'll have to invent a time machine then to trap them into a time bubble and accelerate the neutralization process. Got it.
You're an amusing man, my friend. And so
I'm just kidding. Or am I?
So you wrap up your evening with the Guilfoyles in good spirits, and you go about your business until the following day when Humboldt gets a call.
Okay.
Humboldt, it's you.
It is. Who's this?
Arthur Compton here.
Arthur, how's tricks at the UC?
Well, I don't really want to be a problem, but in fact, I'm in a bit of a jam, and you and your pals seemed like you knew what you're doing at that fracas in Jimmy's. More than I did, anyhow. I've had someone has... look, I can't talk about it on the phone. Meet me at the Museum of Science and Industry in an hour.
Will do. See you there.
So the Museum of Science and Industry is located here at the north end of Jackson Park in the south side. So you can round up the four of you and head down there.
Okay. So I fill everybody on the phone call, and so this promises to be interesting.
So you arrive and you find Compton right outside the gift shop, pacing nervously. He greets you all with handshakes. Oh, thank God you've come. Look,
Arthur, what can we do for you?
Look, I can handle myself pretty well, but this is, well, it's not my line of country. I was up on Maxwell Street yesterday shopping for some shirt collars, and how do you say it in your line of work? I was taken for a ride. Two guys came up behind me, strong-armed me into a black Packard. I got driven around for a half hour while the scariest guy I've ever met, almost possibly, Marcus, you might be a little bit scarier, just stared at me.
That's a compliment.
He just stared at me and talked about ghosts. I have seen a ghost a few times. I have made a few, too, he says. Then he offered me a job, working for, finger quotes, a certain concern on the north side. Good pay. Life insurance included. I told him I needed to think about it, and he said I'd better think hard. I didn't sleep a week last night, and I called you as soon as I could.
Okay. So what is? So he's trying to recruit you from Moran's gang. What did he say? Just as he wants you as their pocket brainiac, or what?
He just kept talking about ghosts.
Ghosts? Not Ghost Rock, but ghosts?
Yes, ghosts. I believe I mentioned when we spoke at Jimmy's that they might be connected to this new type of energy, right? My first experiments worked far better than I thought they would. I think something in this energy, it responds to study, something like Heisenberg's theory about observation. And
yes, I recall our discussion. I only wish that I hadn't been drunk while we were talking about it. I'd remember it more clearly.
well, not to be offensive to you, sir, but it seems like I might have some understanding of why patent scientists sometimes have a bit of a reputation for being, shall we say, eccentric.
I could barely read my own notes.
I've got some controls, some emitters, basic devices, but I thought I should work on neutralization of the energy first for safety reasons. I've sketched out a device, a radionic protonizer, already. In theory, it should annihilate or at least repel these ghost forces, at least for a while. But I don't know what else it does, or how it interacts with regular nuclear forces, or with, God help us, people's souls for that matter. I can't let a killer like the North Side Gang loose with something like this.
Right. Is this your only prototype?
I've only built the one protonizer so far. It's back in my lab at Ryerson Hall.
Well, they know where you work, and they already know where to find you. Maybe it would be best if we took this and kept it for safekeeping. We might be able to do a little field testing of it, so to speak, and get a little bit more information about how it would interact with souls that are still bound to a living body.
That sort of experimentation is a bit outside my purview, but yes, it seems like a good plan. Let's head back to the lab.
All right. Cool.
And so you do. Let's see here. Humboldt,
Here we are.
Eli, Marcus, and Philip. And then I need Compton. So Compton throws open the doors to his lab, and it's been ransacked. Equipment smashed, glasses broken. There's a weird ozone smell lingering in the air. And there's a man standing in the lab. I would like you all to make common knowledge rolls with a bonus if you have Streetwise to see if you recognize this gentleman who is standing there holding a Colt 45 in his hand.
I
Just arcane.
I do not.
Common knowledge.
If you have Streetwise, that does apply a bonus. Philip, you know this guy. You recognize him.
Who is he?
Jack McGurn, also known as Machine Gun Jack McGurn.
Holy shit!
I know him as well.
You know him. You know him very well. You know him as one of Capone's top hitmen. Professor. I just heard about your accident here. Well, you were up on the north side, I guess. Something bad happened to your lab. Fortunately, my friend Mr. Capone believes in scientific progress. He'd be happy to replace everything here. Better than new even. Top of the line stuff. Blank check. And he'd be happy to pay for security, guards, alarms, make sure nothing like this happens again, all on his dime. Like I said, he's a fan of science. He'd love to talk to you about it, man-to-man like. Give him a call before you have a worse accident while you're working here. This stuff, he gestures at the lab, it ain't reliable. Not like Mr. Capone.
Is his clothes unkempt or anything along the lines? Can we notice?
Gurn?
Maybe he's disheveled.
He does not appear disheveled, just armed.
Okay. And no debris on his sleeves or feet, anything like
No,
that.
he's very well turned out, rather dapper, in fact. And he just walks out, kind of gestures for Eli to get out of the way.
Yeah, sidestep.
And heads out down the hall. And Compton says,
Dick.
North side, south side. North side, south side. What am I going to do here? This is far out of my line, gentlemen. I desperately need your assistance.
Well, Arthur, it sounds like you're in a bit of a pickle. Both sides want you, and it looks like both sides are going to do whatever it takes to get you.
Not if we take out both their leaders.
All order, but it may be the only way to go.
I mean, it would create power vacuums, but smaller mobs are easier to handle than bigger mobs as long as they don't form giant mobs.
Yeah, getting to either Moran or Compton and
that's
taking
the
them
problem.
out, not simple.
No.
Not simple, no. But, you know what we could do? What is it? Guilfoyle said that the feds are sending a special agent, presumably with backup and a whole special team coming in.
The feds that we know.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not a big enough gang to really get at either Moran or Capone directly, but we could leverage the feds to go after them. At least, keep them busy enough to keep them off of Arthur's back.
Yeah, that's my thought. Yeah, it's like throw fury on both of them, distract and stay under the radar, and then just skirmish and take advantage of things as we need.
Right.
You think the feds would provide me with some kind of protection? Maybe. I hear that occasionally they've been able to make people disappear.
Arthur, you're a Nobel Prize winning physicist. You're one of the nation's leading science lights. I'm sure they would be willing to extend the umbrella of coverage for you. It would mean going to some, lesser institution, at least for a little while. You might have to go slumming in Harvard or Yale for a while.
Perhaps they'd have an opening up at MIT. I hear they're doing some good work there, or maybe Princeton. That Einstein fellow has some good ideas.
I do the handshaking. I do the hand waving thing. Yes and no. I mean, a little bit bush league, Arthur, but okay.
All right. I would like everyone to make common knowledge rolls. Again, if you have Streetwise, it counts. Okay, Philip, you are completely out of the loop on this.
Oh, jeez.
Are you kidding me?
Why?
Yeah, that's like
Jesus.
my best roll of the whole year. Jeez.
Can I go ahead and say that?
What the hell?
Okay, so Humboldt, you were kind of intrigued by this whole Fed coming into town thing. And so you did some digging.
A little bit, apparently.
And you found out that the new Fed in town is a guy by the name of Ness.
Aha.
And he's come in specifically targeting Moran and Capone.
Nice. Okay. So I communicate this to Arthur. How much do I know about when he's going to be here, where he's going to be, and how I make contact with him?
He said, so you've really dug in and gotten a lot of info here. And so you've got that he's operating out of the federal offices downtown.
All right.
And he's already gotten a little. He's gotten a little bit of a reputation already as a hard charger.
Okay. So I actually have contacts in City Hall. That's part of the backstory that I gave you a while ago.
Yes.
And so, and the reasons for that we can go into, whenever you feel it's appropriate. But I'd like to just contact this guy directly. We should be careful about who we go through in City Hall because everybody there is in the pay of either Moran or Capone or both. And the cops are just as corrupt. So a direct connection, a direct approach to Ness, we can sort of talk directly to him might be good.
So you are able to get in to see him, and he says. But you're met by a Chicago cop. Says, yeah, Jimmy Malone. Pleased to meet you, sir. I hear you're looking for Mr. Ness.
We are. I'm hoping to talk to him about some science projects I've got going on that I could really use some help funding, and hoping he can connect me up with some of that sweet federal money.
Well, I'm afraid that Mr. Ness is otherwise occupied. We have some bigger fish to fry, if you know what I mean.
I understand. Well, here's my card. If you could have him contact me, at some convenient hour, that would be great. And I start to talk about some bullshit science project that the cop doesn't care about, to bore him to death with technical details.
Give me common knowledge rolls again with the streetwise bonus applying if you have it.
Just me or everybody?
Everybody.
Can I assist waving my hands ridiculously?
For common knowledge, probably
yes.
not.
Yeah. Right. So
Trying to explain it, but in a terrible way.
Okay.
Nope.
Amazingly, Humboldt, you've heard of this guy.
Really?
In the context of him getting injured in the line of duty after, and also having a reputation as a very strict law and order cop.
Okay.
Can't be bought.
Well, I'm wondering if. So
he also seems pretty dismissive of your card and just kind of tucks it in his shirt pocket without even looking at it.
Okay. I wonder if do you think we could trust this guy?
You could make a notice roll and see what you think.
Yeah. Let's better to notice. Oops. Where am I? There it is. Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Holy, what the hell?
Yeah. Woo!
Wow.
Jeez Louise.
You get the sense that this guy is a straight shooter.
Okay. All right. So after I kind of stop mid-story explaining all the technical details, and I kind of size him up and I say, "Officer, can I be straight with you?"
I'd certainly prefer it.
Well, here's the thing. In our experience, sometimes you need to take kind of a roundabout route and talk to people about different things. But I suspect this is one of the occasions when we can take a more straightforward and honest approach.
I'd appreciate it.
Okay, so we've got information that Agent Ness is in town to put the kibosh on both Moran and Capone. to take them both down a few pegs and make the streets safer for ordinary citizens. One of those ordinary citizens whose streets are becoming increasingly unsafe is the award-winning, noted, world-famous physicist Arthur Compton. He's been threatened by both Moran's gang and by Capone's gang. And we were hoping to work with Agent Ness to accomplish a couple of things. First, to get Dr. Compton, safely, out of Chicago, someplace where where his science can't be put to nefarious uses by either gang. And in compensation or in response to that, we'd be happy to help Agent Ness in his work in busting up these two gangs.
Compton, eh?
Yes, sir.
So, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that Capone and Moran are both after Compton for some purpose. You have any idea what it is?
I do. And I explained the whole thing of, a little bit of technical detail, but basically, Dr. Compton has been doing some investigations into a new kind of a system to work out, to control spirits. Apparently, Moran has got some technology that will rely on ghosts and extract energy from ghosts and spirits, somehow related to the ghost rock. And he has found a way to neutralize that. If Moran has some new powerful weapon and Arthur and Dr. Compton's found a way to neutralize that, then that'll throw off the whole power balance between the two gangs and it'll really keep guns out of the hands of those thugs.
Right.
Now, obviously, both gangs want Dr. Compton's invention so they could use it for their own purposes.
Well, that's a pretty far-fetched story, my friend, but we're not taking any chances with these two. I'll talk to Special Agent Ness, and we'll see about getting Compton some federal protection. And, in fact, they do. And Compton, Humboldt, you find package in the mail, and a couple days later, with a note from Compton saying, prototype for field testing.
Nice.
So you now are the proud owner of a radionic protonizer. It seems to be a backpack-mounted device with a collection of wires and hoses leading to a handpiece.
Ah, does the handpiece sort of suck them in?
No, it seems to emit some kind of energy.
Yes. Okay, fair.
All right.
And he says, if you build 2 of these, don't cross the stream.
So they're good for busting the ghosts?
Right.
Very nice.
Well, I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
All right. That's where we're going to leave it for this week.
Excellent.
Okay.
You can follow Happy Monster Press on Facebook as Happy Monster Press, at our website, happymonsterpress.com, Twitter as Happy Monster PRS, or follow the podcast on YouTube, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, iTunes, or Google Play Music. The Happy MonsterCast is part of the Savage Worlds Media Network. This game references the Savage Worlds game system available from Pinnacle Entertainment Group at www.peginc.com. It is unofficial media content permitted under the Media Network Content Agreement. This content is not managed, approved, or endorsed by Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Certain portions of the materials used are the intellectual property of Pinnacle and all rights are reserved. Savage Worlds, all related settings and unique characters, locations, and characters, logos, and trademarks are copyrights of Pinnacle Entertainment Group. All other content is the intellectual property of Happy Monster Press. Music, Ice Cold by Jason Shaw. And Soft Despair by Unheard Music Concepts.
Oh, for sure.